broad term, and I'm going to work on defining what that means. Like, there's a lot of different niche areas of the mobile industry, mobile advertising, apps, mobile web, and I'm going to try and cover a lot, many of those different things, and sort of explain how they're coming together in different types of mobile marketing campaigns. I will use some examples of the programs that Vibes has run. And then the second hat is just, industry evangelist and vice chair of the Mobile Marketing Association. I do a few of these speaking opportunities per year, and it's sort of my duty and then also my desire to take any opportunity to sort of promote the ecosystem and everything that you can do with mobile. So like Linda said, it's been a long road. I started the company in 1990. I started Vibe in 1998, and really just been sort of preaching the power and the intimacy that mobile enables for brands to connect with consumers in new and engaging ways. So we'll cover a bunch of that. And I thought, last night I did the 3D program, which was really cool. I want to take that concept back to Chicago. If anybody wants to come to Chicago anytime, we'd be happy to host you. You can hotel out of our office. We've got this brand new office right across from the Sears Tower, which is now called the Willis Tower. It'll always be the Sears Tower, I think. So anybody can come by anytime, take a tour, check it out, work out of our space. Sort of an open, we have sort of open door policy for anybody in the mobile industry. In fact, we had a recruiting party last week that we didn't even do much promotion for. We had 100 people show up, so I was really, really excited about that. But we're hosting the April Mobile Monday in Chicago, if anybody wants to come down, road trip. And so welcome. Anyway, thank you, Linda. Thank you, Steve, for helping us set this up. And thanks to Justin and Phil as well. So I had a couple questions last night of like, so who are you? Like, what are you doing here? And so I thought I would show 2 slides on what Vibes is all about. At the end of the presentation this morning, I decided to do those in the beginning just to sort of frame up and I guess establish a little bit of credibility. Like, hey, I think I know a little bit of what I'm talking about in reference to mobile marketing. So we basically, what Vibes is all about is our core differentiation is really 3 things. We've got an excellent mobile solutions team, and so it's just having this conversation in the hallway where if you try and run a mobile program or somebody gives you a platform software to do that and you don't know what you want to do, or if you're a big brand and you want to get into mobile, it's not about just designing your iPhone app, and it's not about just taking $100 grand and putting it into mobile advertising and sort of checking that box. And that's happening a lot today. And so, our belief is that if you don't combine some sort of software technology capability with marketing expertise, then you're not going to get the true benefit of mobile for which you could. And that will change, down the line as people start to adopt the technology and sort of learn how to use mobile. You'll be able to use a platform like ours to be able to succeed on your own. Until then, I think there's a degree of handholding that's necessary. And so we've got a great team. We've got a great platform with over 460 clients now that enables a bunch of different mobile tactics and mobile strategies. And then we're a tier 1 aggregator. So there's 9 certified tier 1 aggregators in the U.S. We're a little different than others that you might have heard of, like mBlocks or Open Market, in the sense that we don't we don't just route. We're not just a gateway services company. And these are just sort of a selection of clients in the brands, agencies, and publisher space. And I have 2 quick stories of how Minneapolis is sort of dear to my heart. Does anybody know Tony Fly? Oh yeah, that's good. All right. So in 2003, Tony Fly was the first DJ in the country to use our what then was basically a website with some buttons and live messages coming in from text messages. So we had concocted this system where we took a SIM card out of an AT&T phone, figured out how to attach that to a computer, and basically would send messages to an antenna in our office in Chicago, which would pull the message on the computer, and then we scripted basically just an action script reply, and that was the birth of speaking into a microphone, and then wondering who's out there, and asking for the 100th caller, and they talk to one person, everybody else gets a busy signal. And so I remember Tony Fly doing this, and it was just awesome. I'd be instant messaging him during the day while he was doing the call to action on the air. And so since then, many years later now, we got a patent on that platform in 2009, and we have hundreds of radio stations using our platform for the radio industry. Basically all the major markets. So anytime you want to text in for tickets or to request a song, if you hear those calls to action on radio, that's there's one of the few companies in the space, so it might be ours. And then my second, we did a program for the Minnesota Timberwolves, and this might have been like 05 or 06, but this was, I love telling the story because this is one of the defining moments in growing our company where I realized this insatiable demand for interaction, right? So this is pre-Twitter, before Facebook was just on this rocket ship growth. And, we did a simple program where we were activating all the sponsorship for the Timberwolves. And, people would text in whether to vote for the player of the game. I don't remember what the promo was. And our whole idea back then was get people to engage and then extend that dialogue, right? Have a conversation, create interaction, create engagement. And so we asked people, hey, what body part, and we're just trying anything to get people to go back and forth, right? What body part did Kevin Garnett hurt in his rookie season? Okay? And there was one person who was running the reports who literally, I think it was his ankle, and this guy just like blanked on ankle. He sent in 17 different body parts over the course of like 2 days, okay? And it was like lip, ear, nose, toe, and he sent everything, and I was like, this is amazing. This shows that people are just willing to interact with what they think, they don't think is a person, but they know is some sort of a machine on the other side or intelligent database. And that sort of spawned us into this, real ideal scenario where you can take marketing and, again, create conversation, create dialogue. So a few questions. How many people went to bed with their phone right within reach last night? Okay, most hands. So that's pretty remarkable. This is an intimate device, right? So how many people had a smartphone 5 years ago? 5 years ago is bird flu. I looked this up. Bird flu, Dick Cheney shooting his friend hunting. Yeah, it was probably a trio. Okay. Yeah. So not many. And then, how many people have a smartphone today? Okay, everybody in the room. So everybody in the room, that's really, we're at a mobile conference, I hope so. But it's remarkable to think about because almost 70% of the country does not, right? So that's the opportunity here in front of us with mobile is that, sky's the limit. We're going to see accelerated growth. And when I talk about 70% of the country not having a smartphone, love this graph of showing smartphone penetration and sort of the demise and death of feature phones. And so this was Coda Research who predicted sort of that break-even in the middle of 2014. I think that's pulling back. So when you look at the handset lineups of every single carrier today, it's all smartphone for 2011. Very difficult to find a feature phone that you can still get. And, AT&T, basically providing the 3GS for $49, right? So that $50 price point is really, really important because that allows teenagers who are getting, an allowance to go buy their own phone. And that's basically been the sort of teen price point of $50 when they are buying their own phone. So we're going to see, I think we're going to see this accelerate. It could be middle of 2012 when it's 50-50, and that's exciting. So how many people text with their mother? Okay, not everybody. That's interesting. So this is happening, and sometimes, I want to put this in, sometimes when it happens, here's what happens. Your great aunt just passed away, LOL. Why is that funny? It's not funny, David, what do you mean? Mom, LOL means laughing out loud. Oh my goodness, I sent that to everyone. I thought it means lots of love. the reality is mothers, grandmothers, like everybody's texting. Texting is the gateway drug to more data applications and data use, right? We always would say if you get somebody to send their first text, they realize the utility of that. It was back in like 2002, 2003. And then they're off to the races as a data user. Same thing, you show somebody how to take a picture with their smartphone, they're going to start taking pictures and sending pictures of their kids to everybody. So the stats are truly amazing. This shows 982 billion text messages from January to June of 2010. So these are 6-month totals. And so basically, from June until December of last year was the first time that there was over 1 trillion messages sent just in the United States in a 6-month period. So 2011 will have over 2 trillion messages in the US. And when you do the math, it gets kind of absurd on a per person basis, which is pretty amazing. And so what does this mean? It just means, again, data use is moving up market because teens were sort of data maxed, years ago. It's not like the 17-year-old girl is sending 10,000 messages now instead of 5,000. That's literally impossible. And so, it's moving up market in terms of age and usage. All right. How many have kids that are addicted to Angry Birds? How many of you are addicted to Angry Birds? Yeah, way more hands. So this is me at the Mobile World Congress conference in Barcelona, and on my left is, I forget these guys' names unfortunately, but I do know their titles on their business cards. And the guy on the left is the Bird Whisperer, and the guy on the right is is Mighty Eagle, and these are the guys that created Angry Birds. So that was one of my highlights, and I was like, I gotta get a picture with you. So it's interesting, what we're seeing with apps is basically there's huge downward pressure on price. I mean, everything's become 99 cents. That's become the sort of de facto premium price. And unfortunately, unless you have massive volumes, it's a pretty tough model to create a big business. Rovio has been very successful with a number of games, even outside Angry Birds. But I think that distribution outside the iTunes store is still pretty difficult. Android market's improving, but we're seeing Amazon come in with their own app store now, and those are the masters of digital distribution. I think that's definitely something to keep an eye on in terms of their success. Anybody? Well, I'll just tell you. I think Angry Birds about 35 million downloads. And so I don't know the percentage breakdown of ad-supported versus paid, but at a 99-cent price point, and with, I would assume the majority going ad-supported, in the ad-supported world, again, you have to have massive volumes to create success. And so, this is reminding me a little bit of like 4 or 5 years ago when everybody was creating, right now you've got Android and iOS, and everybody was then creating Java and Brew games or Java and Brew apps. And it was like, it was a much smaller market then, but it was like these, you had to have a hit. Last question. Who here has redeemed a mobile coupon? Okay, not bad. That's not bad. This is one that we actually ran for Gap just last week. It was promoted in various different ways, and you could enter your mobile number and then get the dynamic code. I can't share the results, but it was a very successful program. This is just an example, like real-time example of something that ran nationally last week. All right, so here's the most updated slide, data that I could find on sort of the penetration of different operating systems, and you see this emergence in the 25% green with Android, and that's pretty amazing that they've gone that quick, that fast, right? And so I think everybody's looking at that and wondering, all right, what's going to happen to RIM? What's going to happen to Nokia? And Nokia's recent announcement with Microsoft is massive. I think the entire industry was worried about this duopoly of Android and Apple emerging, which would be very similar to the PC space where you had Apple, was this beautiful sort of ecosystem, and then Microsoft, dominating, but everything much more fragmented. announcement by by Nokia to partner with Microsoft, which shouldn't come as a surprise, given that the new CEO of Nokia was from Microsoft, right? There's like maybe like a deal made in advance there, who knows? But it's actually probably healthy and good for the industry. It'll probably have more impact and effect internationally than in the U.S. But it keeps more horses in the race. Unfortunately, we're gonna have a little formatting problem, but this is just converting to the Mac. I apologize. I'll just talk through that slide. So basically, what we've found is unique is what makes mobile unique itself is time, location, and interaction, right? So when we're considering, at least at Vibe, when we consider, all right, how do we make a mobile marketing program unique? You got to take those three factors into consideration. So otherwise, you might be better off doing an email program or doing a web program or doing any other type of marketing. So time, location, interaction. So time is the immediacy of mobile, the fact that you can do stuff instantly. Location, obviously, you can get things where you want, and you can do things from anywhere. And then the interaction that I was speaking of earlier is that opportunity to engage customers in that dialogue. So really, like the four magic words for a chief marketing officer: dialogue, interaction, basically conversation, and engagement. And they all mean a little bit of the same, but the power to instantly have that conversation is sort of what marketers have been dreaming about for a long time. So this is the way that we try to break down the space. I said there's just lots of different areas to look at. Today I'm going to focus mainly on mobile marketing, but it's important to talk about the distinctions, right? So mobile marketing, what is mobile marketing? I view it as when you're selling a solution or a strategy or a platform that people can license, right? So we've got at Vibe's, over 400 clients licensing our software. Okay, so they get a login, call it software as a service, ASP, whatever you want. That's very, very different than mobile advertising, right? So mobile advertising is there's buyers in New York City who are the New York media buying firms, and they want to buy impressions, and they're going to spend that, and they're going to do that on a CPM basis. And what do they want? They want audience, they want reach, they want influence, and they want click-through. And so those are very different things. And then you have apps and mobile web, which could be really in the experience space. But everything kind of overlaps. So you use mobile advertising to promote the experience and get people to download your app or get people to go to your mobile website. And same with mobile marketing. Mobile service, think of that as like checking your balance at your bank. So anything that's utility-based, would be up in that mobile service. So let's dive in a little bit to mobile marketing. So here you go. This is sort of the gamut of mobile being at the center of all the different media channels that you could run, right? Activating traditional assets to get more out of them. Get more leverage out of the dollar that you spend. And like it was Henry Ford who said, "I waste half my money on advertising. I just don't know which half." Right? And so we've done programs where you can put different keywords in different newspapers, and at the end of a program, you know which newspaper is working harder for you. Right? I put one in People Magazine and one in Us Weekly or whatever it is. And you're gonna get measurement and accountability on what has traditionally been usually one-way media like radio, TV, print, and even outdoor. Those are all things that can be further measured, by putting a mobile call to action on all of them. And that call to action doesn't, that can be QR codes in print, which have been found to be very effective. Concerts, we do all sorts of tours where we're actively allowing people to send pictures and video clips, and right then and there, we're trying to get people to purchase the content of the artist while they're in the experience. So what's working? or three things basically: incentives and deals, like the Gap program that I showed you, where you can instantly get a sort of a hot deal. Breaking news: people want to be part of they want to get information on a regular basis from things that they're opting into. Very different than email. I'll cover that in a minute. And then again, service-based alerts where people can sign up. But we're having, we're seeing more and more big brands and big companies sort of say, all right, we want the mobile number. We want at least people to have that option or capability to select that they want that information delivered right to their phone. So this is something that we're looking at in terms of, how do you start to analyze how people behave when they give up their mobile numbers or opt into a program. And so there's been a lot of concern about, well, am I opting into a list, and is this like email where the list is going to be sold? Even though we read about the spam issues and we see that the carriers are suing companies, I don't think spam has been or will be a big problem in the US. I mean, I think actually the violators of spam most are the carriers themselves when they're sending you messages trying to get you to upgrade, or basically, and that's their version of CRM, right? When they're sending you messages. But this is sort of a loyalty curve that we came up with, and we're doing tons of mobile CRM programs where it's building that relationship, because once you have that dialogue with customers, you're able to then shoot them into other things like, embed a URL into your message and get people to one-click download the link, one-click download an app. That's very successful right now. And so we came up with this loyalty curve, which is, basically in the beginning, your chance of opt-out once you get that mobile number as a brand manager actually increases for some period of time after somebody's opted in, because they're sort of like, it's kind of like dating, right? You're kind of checking this person out, you're trying to see if you like them or not, and then there's this point that we've called the loyalty inflection point, where you've basically won their trust. They say, all right, you know what, you're getting useful information, and their percentage of opt-out comes down, and after a while, you basically earned the right as a brand to screw up once in a while without there being a massive sort of defection in your database. And so, we have, we won a national retailer now that has 2 million people in their mobile database, and a very low opt-out rate. We don't over-send on the interaction, so we do about 1 or 2 messages a month at the most, and I think that's really important when you're trying to figure out how to cultivate that relationship. Is you got to figure out what you would want, on your phone, what you would want delivered to you. And so, just from a messaging standpoint, we'll get to other sort of channels. Because of the intimacy of people who get into these mobile databases and the trusted relationship between the person who's opted in, the open rates and the effectiveness are far greater. And this isn't just with messaging. This is really across the board. So here's a study from Insight Express that shows that every single area of measurement when comparing mobile to online, and this is a long study, right? 2010 for your study, 2007 to 2010. Mobile basically out-indexing online in every single advertising-related category in terms of recall and impact. So here's another just example of sort of the time, location, and interaction and importance of mobile. If it doesn't fit these 3 criteria, we might as well be using another medium, because it's like everybody knows you can't take your online website and just put it into a mobile website. You can't take your email strategy and just start firing things out by text. You got to make it unique, and you got to make it special. I wanted to cover one thing with you have to make it special, right? If otherwise it's just not going to have the impact. And you kind of get this, like this experience is like, whatever. And if that's sort of the impression that you're leaving with someone, that's actually bad. So, my phone is so personal, don't interrupt me. If I go to your site and I don't enjoy it, I'm never going to go back. And that's the case with apps right now. There's a lot, there's a high abandonment rate. I think the stats are 50% abandonment rate on apps after 30 days. And 26% of apps get looked at once right now. So you really got to create things and be really special. All right, so just some trends. Mobile web, obviously increasing. These are just projections through 2014. I'll quickly go through this. Apps as well. Let's see, the average number of apps that a person has on their phone right now is 27. That's from Nielsen. And so, what we see is this. The three pillars of mobile have really become messaging, mobile web, and apps. And of course, you have sort of a little bit of a, there's many more, right? You've got QR codes, and you've got augmented reality, and you've got location-based services. I mean, it's endless what you can do. But if companies are creating these strategies inside those, basically, the integration's not going to work, right? And usually, companies up until now, they'll have like a separate company for everything, right? There's a lot of niche mobile providers. So we've got our mobile website, creator and sort of partner building our mobile website. We've got some apps from this company, and we've got messaging from this company. And it's very hard to weave those together. So, what we found effective is really thinking about it from the customer standpoint. And we create these, customer journey, the concept of a customer journey that also incorporates offline touch points. And so, don't think about it just from the mobile perspective. Let's think about how is mobile weaving into your entire marketing strategy as a CMO, right? And how does that, again, weave into the offline touch points of print and TV and whatnot. And so I'll run through an example, but it's this back and forth between digital and non-digital that made things successful. So one of the programs that we did recently was for Chris Angel. Everybody know Chris Angel? Magician guy. Anyway, he had a program on A&E. A&E is all about sort of real life drama and getting in with really deep with stories that are they try and take the drama to a new level. And so he has extremely loyal fans that are called The Loyal, and they were trying to figure out, all right, how do we make this more cross-platform? We need to figure out if we're going to even renew this show, because Chris has a number of things going on, and it's like, all right, do we want to be on A&E? And so, we put together and brainstormed with their team, again, this journey that would bring people from, digital, sort of the offline and online components, and sort of weave together a program, that integrated everything about, not just TV. So, I'll go through, so here's like one of the examples of Loyal, right? So, target market for Chris Angel. So, Dina's drawn to the bad boy, curious, yet independent, with strong passion for what they believe. They're interested in things parallel, and definitely fans of WWE wrestling. And so, what we did was basically had, there was promotional spots on the TV, on the show, and, on Snipes, sort of on the end of a commercial and coming back from a commercial, that were designed to run tune-in and engagement. And people would participate in the interactive text, and they would go through this series, kind of like the dialogue I was talking about earlier. They'd go through these series of questions via text, and Chris Angel would then sort of figure out what you were thinking about, and based on your number, he would call you, and if you filled out this thing, and you were thinking of a pink elephant, but you didn't text it to him, he'd call you, and it would be an IVR message, and he'd say, hey, thanks a lot for engaging me via mobile. You were thinking of a pink elephant. And people went crazy because he was always right. And so that made people go online. And so the discussion board sort of blew up. And people were sharing that experience. And then on the website, there was an ability, you had the ability to opt into, his mobile database and become more of a fan. And then once you did that, you get alerts of future shows. We did a big sort of tune-in alert for the finale of the season. And then, during the finale, you could actually send a text message and it would appear on screen. So people got really into that. The numbers were really high. And then the bounce back message was promoting, promoting the app in iTunes. And then there was social media integration, right? So he would put secret words on his website, in his Twitter feed, and on Facebook. And so if you were going around his site and the name of his cat is Hammy, if you texted in that, you get bonus points. And so it was a really well-run sort of multi-platform integrated campaign. And in the 3-hour finale, there was over 100,000 people that had participated. And then the biggest thing was, in this world of how do you get people, exposed and aware of your app, we drove the app of Chris Angel. It's number 51 on the app store, right? And so that was a huge win. And so doubled the sort of fan base of the loyal. And then the show was renewed. The producer said, hey, obviously there's a multi-channel strategy here, but this is really interesting, and we'd like to renew the program, and it did. So that's just an example of, again, one of these customer journeys that sort of marries the offline with the online. So now I'll just run through, doing okay on time here. I'll run through sort of some trends that we're watching. Connected devices, this is sort of the tablet craze. Yahoo announced, they're going to come out with Live Stand, which is sort of like the, almost be like the new newsstand. And it's really interesting. Flipboard has obviously gotten a lot of exposure, a lot of media. But I think it's interesting because to me, the newsstand of old was the actual thing on the, it was like a distribution point on the corner of the street. It wasn't, within the newsstand, it was the actual physical location. So to me, the newsstand is the tablet. So we'll see if Yahoo's successful, but all the media outlets are, trying again to be that sort of home base. And there's different aggregation sources, trying to sort of be your one focal point for news and media. A lot more campaigns are getting sophisticated with analytics. So when we look at CRM, it's really, the ABCs of CRM are activate your media, build a mobile database, and then, basically connect the dots for your customers with some sort of strategy that is like that customer journey. We talked about the integration between social and mobile, and they're tightly knit. And so there's a bunch of brands doing leverage mobile in your mobile program, you're much better off. We're going to see a lot of that going forward. One of the interesting sort of arguments is the native app versus the browser. So everybody loves to talk about HTML5, and that's going to make apps go away. And I think there's really like a continuum, and it'll be like this dual existence for a long time. And the way, one of the ways that you can think about it is really, the sort of, if you look at the long tail, the fat part of the tail will be like the utility apps, right? So if I'm in a car accident, taking an instant picture of the accident on my, car insurance app and sending that in, or taking, taking a picture of my check so I don't have to go to the bank and just depositing my check by taking a picture. I mean, those are extremely useful as app experiences that might not be browser based, but sort of the small tail might all sort of convert to the browser. And it depends on network speeds, but we've got all these things working for us with mobile, right? Faster network speeds. We've got Verizon promoting 4G here today. Everybody's promoting 4G. You've got devices getting smarter. You've got this massive increase in consumption of media, or mobile media, specifically mobile media. And so there's really a convergence happening where there's people, there's a willingness for people to participate and engage via mobile. At the same time, you've got, again, the networks increasing in speed, the devices getting smarter. Mobile video is now a reality, which is fantastic. Group messaging's pretty hot right now. A bunch of companies getting funded for that. This is really the movement to IP, right? Everything's going IP. Messaging is sort of that last thing that the carriers sort of own control of. And this is sort of, attacking that ownership. And so these are, more feature-rich messaging applications so that you can do group messaging. You can include images and pictures and meetup requests, and it just makes it a much more dynamic experience. And then, bottom, like Liquid Space, basically secret events. And just last week at South by Southwest, I think Scavenger, did a lot of different promotions. And so, there's sort of like a little bit of a flocking mentality that can come with these types of apps, along with location and deals, right? So here are just 5 things to consider. Yep, 5 things to consider this year. From a mobile marketing standpoint, activating your advertising, QR codes or text, and then activating your sponsorship. Basically, launch a mobile couponing campaign if you're in the retail business or you want to drive traffic in store. These are successful, and if you're not testing, you're not learning. If you're not learning, you're going to be left behind. That's one of the things I try and repeat. Test location, and then use mobile marketing specifically to drive app downloads. So a lot of what we're seeing is this very successful using the penetration of messaging and the fact that you can get a much wider audience, the bigger universe, to promote your app. And so that's it. We have time for questions.
Any questions?
Over here.
What do you see in terms of future for NFC?
NFC versus QR codes. Very another one of these sort of app versus browser debates. So I think that there's massive buy-in that has to happen by merchants and financial institutions to deploy NFC at point of sale. A lot of people see NFC as a replacement for QR codes, at least a certain aspect of the use of QR codes. You've got the carriers who, 3 of the big 4 came together to form ISIS, which is this, all right, we're going to work together and sort of make NFC come out faster. I think Apple just said that iPhone 5 is not going to have NFC, so I think that slows the deployment, slows the adoption rate. But man, just waving my phone at point of sale, that's a dream. That's sort of the M it's going to be slower than everybody in this room wants.
Jack, I think we're going to wind down because we're running a little late.
Sure.
But Jack is actually going to be here throughout the day. I think you're leaving around 2.
Yep.
So by all means, corner him and ask questions and engage